Hello, guys, and welcome back to another installment of Galley Stories, Stories of the Bering Sea and Beyond. I am your host, Mark Kaler. And today we have Stan Hansen, yes, from the clan Hansens, currently the first mate on the FV Starfish.
Starfish, that's correct.
Starfish. Stan, how are you today?
Great, Mark. How you doing?
Doing really well. So you've listened to a couple of these at this point, and
Yep,
you're ready to roll.
ready to
So
roll.
where were you born?
I was born in Seattle, and I was born in Seattle. My mom and dad came. They migrated from Norway, probably in the mid '60s or something like that. And my dad came over here to be a fisherman. He started off as a gill netter, and then became a crab fisherman on a boat called the Ocean Spray. My mother followed shortly after they got married, and then took off to go fishing right away. That was their honeymoon.
Straight to Alaska?
Straight to Alaska right after he got married.
And which location is he from in Norway?
A little island called Conway.
Everybody's from there,
Everybody's
right?
from Conway, yeah. And everybody's like, they make jokes about it, well, if they're all from the island, what does that mean, No, nobody's that way.
So he came straight over and went to Alaska.
Straight over, yep. And then as he made his money doing the king crab fishery back in the heydays on the Ocean Spray. And as I grew up, I've been begging to go up fishing as a kid. And I kept saying no until I was about 12 years old. And then they had by that time they had changed the boat to a trawler. So now it was JVing, joint venture fishing for motherships from like different countries. So we were fishing for like the Koreans and the Russians and stuff at that time. That was in the late 80s, mid 80s. And I got my first in on a government charter, which Trident does a lot of those too, I believe. I don't know if they're still doing them or not, but so I did a government charter, my first, when I was 12 years old. And I'm going fishing. It was the summertime, so
Pulling pollock?
these little bags. The government had these little nets that you towed, and if you ripped it up, you can't fish that one anymore. You bundled it up and put on a new net, and they'd have you go all over, up by Bristol Bay, Togiak, and then we did, over to Shumagins and stuff like that. So that was my first experience out at sea.
What does a 12-year-old do on deck of a boat?
Not much. I mean, I was pretty much, the window washer, and they were teaching me at the time. They were teaching me how to, zip on the bags and teaching me how to mend web, and I caught on to mending web really quick. My dad taught me on a piece of paper with drawing a bunch of diamonds, and then you'd race in like a rip in it, and then told me how to start with a 3-bar, and everything's a 2-bar in between, and then end with a 3-bar again.
That's a valuable asset even today, especially today.
Yeah, and there's not that many younger guys that, coming into the industry that know how to mend web. I'm sure they're out there, but to catch on to it and learn it real quick.
It's one of the first questions you hear. Can you mend web?
Right. And as a crabber, these lot of crabber guys want to go back onto a dragger, and they're doing, well, I know a 3-bar and a 2-bar, and then we just start laughing, yeah, we heard that one before, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started off dragging, I started doing that every summer. Every summer I got better and better at it, and I was doing night tows for my father at the time when I was 16, and we were fishing for the Golden Alaska.
Night tows.
Night tows, yeah.
You were running the boat at night.
Yeah, exactly. And it was different because you didn't have the plotters back then. You just had a radar, the old kind of radar you'd see like in the movies where you put your head in a little mask, and the plotter was just a blank, there was no land on it, no depths or anything like that. So, yeah, when I started doing the tows at nighttime, if somebody was getting close to me, I'd call them up and, hey, you got to move for me because I'm only 16, man. So
this thing is pointed in that direction, and we were
right,
going.
Yeah, I'm towing, and you got to move for me. But as I got older, I got better at it and stuff. And I went to the maritime classes and got my license. And but yeah, so I was doing that for probably till I want to say 1991. My parents sold the boat.
And which boat was that?
That was the Ocean Spray.
The Ocean Spray. Okay.
Yeah, my dad had a partner. He had actually two partners, Dennis Peterson and Kenneth Peterson, and it was my dad. They were all third owners on that boat.
Are they part of the Peterson clan still running around with Mike and?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I fished with Mike. I don't. I think they're different Petersons.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but yeah. So they're long since retired from it, and so they sold the boat. The new owners bought it, and something happened, and now it's sunk, and it's at the bottom of the ocean as a snag mark for the trawlers. Stay away from that part.
Okay.
So then I had to go find a new job, and that was I was looking for a crab job because my buddy Stainer was telling me, hey, you gotta go crab fishing and see what work is really about, you know. I was like, oh, it can't be any worse than what I'm doing now. I'm wrong. I was totally wrong about that. So, yeah, my first job was with Sonova's father on the Silver Wave doing a barra dive. And that was a big eye-opener. I mean, I remember we were about 18 hours into it, you know, on our feet, sorting crab and shitty weather. And I remember asking one of the guys, so when do we get to sleep? And they just all laughed at me. He just laughed at me, and I was like, okay, all right, I'm in hell now.
Now, how old were you at this point then?
I was about 21, nearing 21. I was 21. Yeah, I was 21.
You knew your way around a
Yeah.
boat, just not quite a crab boat.
Yeah. So, but you know, at the end of that season, I figured out the routine, how it worked, and I remember talking to Sonova's father. His name was Oddvar. I was just there for that one season. He goes, well, you're good to go on any crab boat now, so you got your foot in the door. And Sid called me up and he asked me if I wanted to go with him, and I was like, sure. I still wasn't quite the crabber yet, because those guys ran me under the bus hard. I mean, they wanted to see me quit, grind my titties to the deck, and I wasn't going to give up. And I remember me and Edgar, and everything became a race on deck. How fast can you open the door? How fast can you shut it? And they, it took me a while, but I ended up catching up with them, and next thing you know, it was a routine. We all had like a nice flow going on deck, so that was great. So I was there probably, I don't know, I think it was probably four to 5 years with them before I left and went back to Dragon again. So I was going, I went back to Dragon for a while. Then I went to Starlight. I was there for about 5 years, and then I switched again, and I went to the Scandies Rose, and I went back to crab fishing, which worked out really good because Pollock was on a downslope at that time, and so I just happened to be going where the money was. But yeah, by that time I had the crabbing thing was all locked in, and I had it all figured out.
And that was before, when you were on the Northwestern, that was before all the cameras and everything else was.
Yes,
yeah,
that was
so
before the cameras.
That was back in the.
Yeah, so yeah, no, I didn't go back to the. Well, actually, I did. I think a couple little stints on the Northwestern before the Deadliest Catch. I'd be doing my trawling with summertime bee season. After that would end, and then king crab would be ready to go. So I'd always look for a king crab job, and sometimes they would, yeah, we got a spot for you. Come on board,
So, your primary focus at that time, was it on Dragon and Pollock, or was it?
Well, yeah, Dragon was.
Just grabbing a crab job to fill in.
I was making pretty good money on the trawling, so
Mm-hmm.
and then when I went back, and I'd go try to make extra money to go do king crab jobs,
Right?
So because it worked out perfect because there was no trawling going on at that time. So
all I'm hearing from you right now is you've been damn near born at sea, 12 years old.
12 years old, yeah.
And going, and that's from your father.
Yeah, right.
Who
we also with my father, I think when I was about late 20s into my 30s, he bought a gill netter, and when we did that I did gill netting with my father and my mother in the summertime for a while. That was interesting too. Working, it's like it was fun to work with him. Great memories, but I don't think I could ever do that again.
Your dad run a hard deck?
No, he likes to yell a lot, but he was very he was legit. I mean, he was very fair. I mean, we had we were two of a kind. We always like two bulls butting heads, but yeah, no, we had a good time up there at Bristol Bay fishing with him, and my mom was out there too. So I mean, it was kind of a fun memory to look back upon and remember being out there with him, because I have an older brother. He tried fishing and it wasn't for him. He just said, nope, I'm going to college, which is another funny story because my dad gave us that, you know, you can go to college or you can go fishing. And I chose fishing. My brother chose college. 2 years later, I'm like, so is that college thing still on the table? Oh, no.
Choice was made.
Yeah, no, after he saw how much it cost my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I was become accustomed to it. So it's you know, you see these new guys come up to go fishing, and they're like, you know, this is what it's all about, you know, and you realize it's not all the glory you see on TV, you know. It's because, you know, when they turn the TV off, their day is still going, you know.
Yeah.
So now I look at these young kids, and some of them you go, oh, that guy's gonna make it. That guy's not gonna make it.
You can almost tell.
Yeah,
like fairly
you can
early.
judge a character pretty good, yeah. And some of them are the big strong guys.
They don't always.
No,
they don't always
a
last,
lot of them
no.
are, you know, the scrappy ones, you know.
Well, and again, today though, there's not a lot of 12-year-olds going up to the Bering Sea.
No.
With their dad. I mean,
no, I'm seeing a couple on a couple different boats. They're going with their father.
but they're family raised.
Right.
You know,
Uh-huh.
it's. Well, certainly we're not going to pull a 12-year-old off the street and say, "Hey, can we take your kid up there?"
Right.
But that's part of keeping this tradition in our industry alive.
Right.
You know, you listen to Casey's, I believe, and he's taking Charlie up there.
Yep.
You know, and Charlie, I think,
Oh,
is like
yeah.
7 or 8 years old,
Oh,
and he's
yeah.
already done 2 seasons in
Yeah.
Bristol Bay. I mean,
they
you know,
got a great family. Casey and his dad and his kids. Yeah, no, they're great guys. So yeah, no, my brother called me up one time, and he said his son was, I guess he needed to find out what real work was about. So he called me up, and he goes, yeah, can you get him a job? I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I go, because if his heart's not in it, it's a waste of time.
right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, it's you know, it's been over 30 years I've been doing it now. So
Well, you're still doing it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, the crabbing, yeah, I don't really miss it too much now as my body's getting older, climbing crab pots and stuff. Every once in a while I tool with the idea of maybe I'll do a king crab season again, but you know, the dragons, it's, you know, we got pollock, we got the 2 pollock seasons, and we do codfish, and codfish is turning into a derby now. It's like one of the last derbies there is.
Well, yeah, because it's all done with pots too, right? So you're running around out there just like a crab pot.
Well, yes, they do it with pots, but they also we're doing it with nets on the
okay,
starfish.
all right.
Yeah.
You're just switching
Yeah,
the
we
gear
just
over,
had a-
going
you know, we
to
just-
cod ends and.
Right. So we just had a big. They had an April 1st opener, which was only open for, I believe it was like 48 hours, 2 days. And that boat packs, you know, pollock, it packs like 645,000 pounds or something like that. So cod's a little bit less because they're bigger fish. We had an April 1st opener. We've never filled that boat up with cod. And that April 1st, we filled it up in 36 hours. That was a lot of bleeding.
And you got to bleed
You've
those
got to
things.
bleed them all, yeah.
How many guys you got on deck bleeding those?
3.
Oh man,
3, yeah.
There's some sore hands there.
Yeah. Actually, all we got to do is poke them. You know?
Still holding that knife.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's just, and you look back at the bag, or you look, you know, on the trawl, and it's like, oh, well, we're going to be out here until it's over, and that's what it was like.
Yeah.
But it was cool though because we filled the boat up. Man.
Right.
It was like
Cod was a great price this last year.
I think we got like Unicy. I think, you know, because they did it in tiers. You know, if you caught so much, you bounced up to another couple cents, and we ended up with, I think, 44 cents.
Sounds like an Uber driver bonus.
Yeah, right.
Get out there and get the fish. The more you
Right.
get, the more you pay.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. So yeah, no, codfish is fun. It's you know, and I remember, you know, fishing with some other guys that, you know, with the nets, you know, some of them are perfectionists. I mean, when you're cod fishing, you just lace that thing together real quick and get it back out there. Fix it right at the end of the season or between trips or something like that.
Band-aids
Band-aids
Yeah.
until, you know, you got the time to really fix it right. You know, what we usually do is summertime, you know, there's no cod fishing, so we lay our cod nets out on the beach, and then we fine tune them on the beach up there in Dutch, and then by come cod season, they're ready to rock and roll again. Yeah. So it's,
And then rinse and repeat. Band-aid.
Right,
Completely fix
right.
it at the end of the season.
exactly. You know, we had, you know, it was this last season, you know, at the beginning of the season, it was pretty nasty weather, wintertime, and I think it was our first trip out there, one of the boats lost 2 guys over the side of the boat.
We actually had 4 guys go in the water the same day this year.
Right.
Two
I'm not going to
from-
mention the
two
names
from
of the
one
boats,
boat.
but yeah, 2 from one boat, and there was another guy on it think it was one of the Trident boats. I'm not sure, but
We took an injury,
yeah,
not overboard.
nobody died.
Nobody died,
Nobody
which is speaks volumes of our safety records,
Right.
our training really,
Exactly.
because those guys on deck reacting to it and communicating that to the
Yep.
captain allows things to happen fast, right?
Exactly. One of the things we were trying to get, and they didn't have them in Dutch Harbor, was they have these new, you know how the boats have the AIS, to see where all the boats are.
The
on
personal EPIRBs.
Exactly. So we've been trying to get those, and we got them on order. And I've been going over to the survival, where they get your rafts. Done.
They're pricey, but they're worth it.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
know, when I say pricey, we're talking maybe $450.
Actually, the ones I was looking at, they were actually 180 or something like that. And
Okay.
and they connect to the AIS, and
So the captain can see where you're at in the
exact
water.
location exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And
I don't know if these guys had them, but they got them back, and they were,
the way the industry's going now, though, it's going to become a requirement. It's going to become
It
one of
should
those
be.
things where,
it absolutely.
I mean,
should
if the
be.
tool is there to save a life,
Uh-huh.
we should be utilizing it.
Right.
Yeah,
you can't really put a price tag on that.
well, you can't.
No.
And not only that, but I don't know if you remember a few years back here in January, we lost Eric Etter on the Seeker.
Okay. Yeah. No.
And they circled around and saw him, and they almost had him. And
Yeah.
then when they came back around the second time, his boots were too full of water. I mean, just
So he
things
didn't-
happen.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
I know. Like on our boat, on the Starfish, we're really adamant about wearing our vests, and we're supposed to wear our hard hats too, But sometimes, and then the captain comes, get your hard hat on,
Right.
But
Right.
my head's so big,
First time you take a knock from falling ice,
Yeah.
though, or a swinging pot,
And that's
or,
happened to me before. I had
or a zipper pops just at the wrong time, and
Right.
or the
No, I had years ago in the Starfish. I was running around the net reel, and we got the picking boom. The old picking boom for crab fishing was covered in I don't know how much ice, but that thing fell and hit me on the back of the head. It knocked me out. I was out for about a minute or two, and the hard hats are. You should have them on.
yeah, a lot like the PFDs.
Yeah.
I mean those. So 30 years up there, 32 years up there. I know there's been many instances when you've been scared, but can you think of the one that just really had you?
There's a few. One of the ones I just remember off the top of my head was we were headed out fishing on the Northwestern, and we had a whole haystack of crab pots on, and the seas were coming from quarter stern, which is kind of it's a real scary ride because your boat will launch up and then it'll want to roll over, kind of, And me and Edgar were up on watch. Edgar was in the driver's seat. I was over, just sitting there keeping him company. And one time the boat, she laid over, and she was staying there, and we were just going, come back, come back, come back, come back. And a couple of the guys came running up, and slowly she started coming back again. But I always hated that ride with those crab pots.
Well, they're holding you over.
Yeah,
and
exactly. And it's just that would be the worst for me. That would be the ultimate fear is capsizing.
We've had a couple guys explain their capsizing events, and it came just that way.
Yeah.
When they listed so much, and then unfortunately for them, they always say there's never one thing.
Yeah.
But the second thing was another wave hitting them.
Right.
Just at the right angle, the right time. The boat's not coming back,
Right.
and that second one just.
Oh, and it's scary, and it's like and I remember, it's like, what's the proper thing to do? Pull it out of gear, It's and a lot of times, if you pull it out of gear, it should come right back up. And other people will beg to differ. They'll say something else like turn, but yeah, it's a scary moment. It's happened a few times, and that's I like schooners for that reason. Like Scandy's Rose and the Billiken, man, those were they're like tanks out there on the water. I mean, to me they're great sea boats.
They still are tanks.
Yeah.
They're still out there running around.
Yeah, no, they're a great boat, hands down. Scandy's Rose, I loved working on there with Leif Norbo. I think he changed his last name, I think, but and that the Billiken was great. I worked on there with Jim Hilt and Jeff Weeks and Casey and Harold. God bless
Big,
Harold.
Big Harold?
Big Harold,
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I miss that guy, man.
Yeah, Harold was fun to work with. He had a system, Jim was go, go, go. I mean, he was, you get out on deck and you're going, going, going. And then Jim had, he had a system. He got through the same amount of gear. It's funny because he goes, like, one guy has one system and he goes, and you feel like you're working your butt off just to keep up with him. And the other person has, okay, we start here but you get through the same amount of crab pots. It was always weird.
It's different.
Yeah.
Well, Big Harold was like one of those, like your father.
Yeah.
One of those true, just pure Norwegians that came
Exactly.
over and didn't know the word quit and didn't know how to
Yeah.
stop and
Yeah, no, I was wondering how it was going to be to work for him, and it was all right. I liked him.
yeah, yeah.
And Jim was great too. I liked working with Jim. He gets excited sometimes, but that's part of the game. We all get excited.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was fun. We took the billick. Got on the Billiken. They just brought it out from being mothballed, and I got the job on there for king crab. And that's when I called up Jim McManus. I was on Starfish, and I go, hey Jim, you got a king crab job for me? He goes, oh yeah, I got a job for you. What boat? I don't know yet. We'll find one for you. And call me back a week or two later, and you're going on the Billiken with Casey. Right on.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah. So yeah, no, it was great too because then it was, that boat needed a lot of work to get back into the thing, and we got a bunch of.
I was in shipyard at that point.
Right, we were always coming up to you and getting order numbers for new parts and new winches.
That was a busy time.
Yeah, and then there was always somebody going, "You guys are spending too much money on that boat."
That boat's an exception to the rule, though.
Right, it's the flagship, right?
It's the flagship, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like
you go into Costco and you see that boat right there on all the Trident products there.
Yeah, it's definitely the flagship and the one that. So in my eyes, it gets taken care of. One of the Not that we skimp on any other boat, but
she's a Cadillac.
She's the Cadillac out there. Yeah,
really enjoyed it.
Still viewed that way. Not that it's any part of this podcast, but we just put her colors back to the original.
Oh, nice.
She's just like she came out of dry dock the day she was built, and she looks.
Chuck's gotta like that.
Yeah, yep. The old block letters and just everything.
Uh-huh.
So, what about some good times you've had up there, Stan?
Well, we've had a lot of good times. It's my favorite is in the summertime we're pollock fishing and we got a couple days to kill in town. This is not out on the fishing grounds. I usually go get a fishing pole and a fishing license and I head out to the beach and go fishing. But I think a lot of my good times were crab fishing because there's just a lot going on deck. There's a lot of excitement. And I remember one time on a Northwestern, I was fishing with a buddy of mine, Mark, and Tracy, and
Tracy Larimer?
No, Tracy Lady.
Okay.
Yeah, you know him?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Mark, he works for a fire department now, but one guy's talking about one girl and that they dated back in high school, and all of a sudden the other guy would go, "Hey, I dated her too." And then oh shit, I did too. It was like everybody would start joking about it, because it's like, oh, it's a small world, But yeah, no, it's I think I enjoy most of the time fishing, just the camaraderie of the guys and stuff. But there's been funny incidents. I remember one time I was on a Northwestern with Brad Parker. I don't know if you know him. And, we're just joking around. He had some pot ties tied together, and he's jumping rope. And every time he jumped rope, he went back a little bit. And next thing you know, he went right into the tank, all the way up to his armpit. So he went down into the tank, but he came up faster than he went down. But yeah, no, it's I get a lot of fun times doing it.
Yeah, there's got to be, or else you wouldn't keep going back.
Right.
I mean, the money's great,
right?
But
yeah,
there's got to be something else.
And then you got your seasons too that drag on way too long. And then you're just like, you just want to go home. You just want to be with your family, And this last season was it seemed like it was a longer season than normal for some reason. But, after you're home for a while, you're ready to go back and do it again,
Right.
So
you start settling in, you get that itch.
Yep, exactly. And the money, it's like, okay, it's time to go make some more money,
Right.
Because I came home this time, I had to have a fence built or remodeling a bathroom, It's like all of a sudden, cha-ching, cha-ching, you're spending money again,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So I'm not going to let you get away without being raised your generations family of fishing. Growing up, your dad's kind of a legend around here, right? Carl.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I need to hear. We need to hear one of those stories you grew up with about your dad.
About my dad. Oh man, there's a bunch, but I don't want to. I remember he's superstitious, and
A lot of fishermen are.
yeah, and there's a lot of things you can say and do and don't do that cross the line on superstition. And one of them to my dad, I don't know why it is, but you're not supposed to say horse on a boat. Yeah, that's what I thought too. And the funny part was on that boat in the galley there is a painting with a horse and carriage. So we were in the middle of towing a net. He was hauling back, and I'm like, so I asked him, I go, well, why do you got a picture of a horse in the galley? And then he got all bent out of shape and started, yelling at me for saying that on the boat, and forgot about what he was doing and sucked the doors right up into the block. And he's like, God damn it, now look what you made me do. This is all because you said that.
Let's talk about superstitions for a minute. Bananas.
Yes.
No bananas on a boat.
But you know what? I have bananas on the boat.
But a lot of boats don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
literally, you see a guy come in from break. He's been working in the shipyard, and he brings a banana on the boat.
Yeah.
And the captain's eyes immediately light up and go, get that off my boat.
Exactly. Suitcases, too, is a no-no.
So what's the saying behind that one? You're not packing for a trip.
Right.
You're going to work.
Yeah, exactly. I read that a priest on a boat represents death because they do funerals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Another funny one I heard was if you're walking down the dock and you come across somebody with red hair, avoid them at all cost. But if you know the person, you have to talk to him first before he talks to you. It's just these weird things. If you pick up have you ever read the Ocean Almanac book? It's a big book. They sell it, I think at some of these sea stores down in Ballard and stuff, and they have all these great stories that sea stories on it. It's a pretty big book, and they have a whole list of all the superstitions, the do's and the don'ts.
Don't wave goodbye. Don't leave on a Friday.
Yeah, don't look back.
Don't leave on a Friday is a big one.
Right.
Still,
right.
I mean, we'll be in shipyard and we're pushed to get out on a certain day, but that day falls on a
I
Friday, and they're
believe,
like,
I believe in that one.
They're like, wait a minute, we're leaving at 12:01.
Right. Exactly. Because
Saturday at
it's just
12:01.
for some weird reason, shit goes bad if you
The
do.
the last boat that we had leave, that I recall, that we had leave on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
The first mate's mother had a heart attack before they got to Catch Can.
Yeah.
And not to feed into the superstition, but there's stories that create it, right?
Well, I read I read they were making one of their vessels, I don't think it was one of their battleships or something, or a cruise ship line. I can't remember what it was, but it was. I read about it in the Ocean Almanac. They laid the keel on a Friday. They built the boat. Everything was done on Fridays. They launched it on a Friday. They christened it on a Friday. The boat left town. Never heard from again. So there's something to be said about it.
Fridays.
Hey, you know what? It can't hurt. Stay in town until 12:01.
Mm-hmm. So you've seen our industry change a lot in the last 32 years.
It's gotten way better, safety-wise, technology. I mean, I remember before you couldn't, now you can make a phone call from the boat because you got the satellite, internet, and phone. Before it was you had to call on a single sideband. You had to call KMI, Oakland, California, get connected with an operator so you can make a phone call, and then that costed an arm and a leg just to make a phone call, and then it's you take turns talking because you're speaking into a mic, so
like a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, so your other half has to realize. Yeah, your other half does. They're talking on the phone. They don't. We take turns talking. Because you can't talk on top of each other, right? Yeah. So that was a big change. Having internet out there, that's a big one too.
Well, even to say you have internet though, there's folks that are listening going, oh, well, they have high-speed internet. They don't have high-speed internet.
No, it's more like dial-up if you get it.
It's still like a 5-minute Facebook page load.
This is an ongoing battle with my wife and I. It's like I'll get a hold of her like on the phone, and then the call drops after about 3 seconds. Call again, maybe you get 10 seconds. Internet too. It's like
you're hanging up on me.
Yeah, the internet's kind of pointless. Unless you're really trying to do something that you need done. What does work up there seems to work really good is the WhatsApp.
Oh yeah.
The WhatsApp works pretty good. So everybody has
too good for me.
Yeah,
get a lot of those.
It's nice too because before there's everybody's trying to be secret out there fishing. You don't want any boat coming in on you. Hey, I found a honey hole of fish here. I just want to tell my buddy. You just send them a text on the WhatsApp. Before, it's you had to have a secret radio channel,
Or a chart that you created yourselves.
Yeah, it's the whole. Yeah, you had to
The
have
dolphins are running by the sea.
Yeah. I'm on my way.
Go get that one sorted out.
Yeah. No, I was. Oh, God, this is a little bit off the subject. I was going to tell you a story about. We got a whale caught in our crab line.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. So this was interesting because I'd never seen this happen before, and I've talked to other people about it, and very seldom it happens. But we were coming up on we were cod fishing with pots on the Billiken, and all of a sudden we coming up on this one of our pots, and the captain was like, "Is that a whale caught in our line?" And yeah, it's a whale, So we got a whale that's caught in our crab line, and our trailer line's hanging off of it.
Has to be a dead one.
No, it's alive. It was alive. It was just wrapped in the line, and it was caught on its dorsal fin. And I got, I was at the hook. I threw for the bag, and I got the trailer bag pinned over the rail, and I was waiting for it to slack off so I can get it up into the block. But right at that moment, that whale kicked, and I flew from one side of the boat to the other side. I was like, "Ooh, Jesus, that thing's strong."
Yeah.
And I ran back over to the rail, through the hook again, but now I got it in the block. And the captain was like, he goes, "Are we gonna be able to get our pot?" "Nope." He goes, "Fine, cut the line, save the damn whale, lose the pot." Yeah. But yeah, I got so we got to the diver, cut the line.
I don't think I've ever heard of anybody catching.
Oh, it was crazy, and that whale was. I mean, it was. You could hear it. When we were trying to get it up to the the line, the diver bag up to the block, that it was wheezing through. It was been struggling there for a while, and once it got free, man, that thing jumped around for a while. It was happy. You could tell he was happy. I don't know what kind of whale it was, but it was. It was.
I've heard of guys pulling up parts.
Dead whales?
Of whales.
Yeah, that's pretty nasty.
Yeah, and they describe the smell.
Yeah.
And oh, Lord.
I remember being on a boat, and we found a dead walrus floating one time. And this was years ago, so I don't know what the rules and regs are on that, but they had a couple nice tusks on it. It's dead already, so we pulled it up on board and took the tusks. But that was years ago. But a few hours later, we found...
He means many, many years ago.
Many years ago, yeah. And then about a few hours later, we found another one. So we got one with one tusk and one with two tusks.
Maybe they were fighting.
No, I think they got caught under the ice floes.
Oh.
Back, what's funny is back then it was like, it seemed like the winters were colder. They lasted longer. Except for there was one on the Billiken where the ice floes came down almost to Unimac Pass. It was the first time we got to fly home and stay home for a month during February. And I had never been home since February. God, since I was, out of high school, But, they get caught. The walrus, they get caught under an ice floe. They can't find their way out, and they end up dying. Yeah, they drown. Same with some whales, too,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a couple dead whales floating this summer. Or no, this last winter. I came across one. It looked like a minke. And then a few hours later, we saw another one floating further up the line, and I was like, hey. And then somebody's like, "Oh, maybe I got caught in an ice floe." And I'm like, well, God, how far did the ice floes come down? Because I don't think they came down that far this winter. But
winter before, though, they did.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Yeah, you see some of these, it's like, but summer times, when you come in pulling into Dutch, you see the whales are jumping everywhere. There's pods and pods of them.
Well, you've got one of the best offices you can have on the planet out there.
You got the best scenery. Yeah.
In Alaska, I mean, I started going in 92, and even to today, I've never seen such pure sunsets.
Right.
And sunrises.
Yeah.
There's just colors that you just can't.
Yeah, you can't describe. Your picture doesn't even do it justice.
Well, it's kind of weird because I'll take a picture with my iPhone standing on the back of the gale, and the picture looks so good, but it's not exactly what I'm seeing.
Exactly.
But it seems like it's like an unfiltered view for your eyes. It's just.
We had. I remember one time I was on watch on the Billiken, and we were coming from Sandpoint going up towards Cordova, and we're just coming into the. I forget what that place is called there, but we're coming in through the channel there to come, or it comes into Cordova. And the sun was just coming up, and wouldn't you know it, I had an orca whale breach right in front of me, and I was the only one there to see it, and nobody believed me.
We were coming back on the Lafayette, one time. It was a boat for Northwest Seafoods. This is
Uh-huh.
back in the 90s. We were coming across the Gulf of Alaska. The Lafayette had a pretty low deck, so you were only like maybe 3 feet off the water, deck side. And there was about 5 orcas just breaching right next to the boat.
Isn't that crazy?
And well, we mentioned to the captain, they were literally just right alongside of the boat. Well, they don't change course. So if you get up on them, they're going to keep going the exact way they're going. And we must have been next to them for 30 minutes, which was an incredible.
I saw Casey had some film. He filmed an orca right off. I think when he was on the Patriot or something like that, on one of those boats. And he said there was an orca right there, same thing, right next to the boat for the longest time. Yeah.
Very cool. You think you know how big they are.
Right. And then you
right
see
up to
the front.
Moment,
yeah. You
right up to the moment you see them.
Have you ever done one of them whale watching things out in the Puget?
Nope.
I tried it. My wife wanted to do it. I was like, oh, okay, let's go look at the whales. You know,
I ain't seen those before.
But when you go out there and you sit with them, it's actually kind of cool, you know. But yeah, no, there's something else. The wildlife up there is pretty incredible. Bristol Bay, I've seen bears. I had my close call with one in Bristol Bay. We seen a bear coming down the beach, and me and Sanova's brother. We went to the end of the Peter Pan. It wasn't at the dock. It was towards land. They had a gravel pit there. We're standing on a gravel pit, trying to see where this bear is going to come out, and all of a sudden he says, "Oh shit!" and starts running. And I'm right there by myself, going, "Oh God, I don't even know where he is," you know. Right at that time, I see him, and he's like, you know, probably about 40 feet away from me. And the night watchman comes by on his ATV, and spooked it, and went right up the hill, tore down all the brush. It was like it was nothing. It just went tearing up the hill like nothing. Yeah. Oh,
and you're still standing there going,
I was going, "Oh shit!" I came back to the boat later on. I gave him a piece of my mind.
Thanks for ditching me.
Yeah, right.
Well,
exactly.
you hear that the bear would chase the guy running, right?
I hope so.
So, Stan, what is fishing given you that you probably wouldn't have today without it?
You know, I think it's taught me patience, and knowing that when someone's complaining about hard work, that you don't complain about it, because I've seen some really hard days fishing out there, and where you're so miserable, you're like, why am I here? So I think knowing that, I always know there's an end to it. If you know where the end game is, you're going to be fine. And the patience and weathering storms and stuff, you know, it's
Weathered a few.
Oh yeah. Sometimes you just wish you could just lay a blanket over the ocean just to calm it down, but you know, it just seems like sometimes these storms are never ending. You know, it's just, especially if we had one season on a starfish or in the trough. It seemed like every trip out there in the trough, and being in the trough, that's when the waves are hitting you on the side, and they're the big ones. And I try to explain it to my wife. I go, just imagine a big house coming at you, and you're getting hit by a house and going up over the house. And she's like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what it feels like, you know." Yeah, you know, when you hear 20-foot wave, that's actually really big, you know, and it doesn't sound big. But when you got 20 feet of water coming at you, that's a big size wave.
Water's relentless.
Yeah, you know. So like sometimes you're in town, like, "Oh yeah, I got 20-foot seas coming from the west." You don't want to, you know, if you don't have to go fishing that bad, wait it out, you know.
Yeah.
And go the next day.
What advice would you have for guys coming in?
Listen to the guys that've been doing it for a long time. You know, sometimes you get the young guys that think they know everything, and sometimes the older guys are there and they got one pace, you know, because as you get older, your body's getting older, and you know, I'm not saying I'm slowing down by any means, but but you know, the people have been around, listen to them, they know what's going on, you know. I remember, you know, I had one guy freaking out because we were in a bad storm, and I just pat him on the back. I go, if you see me get freaking out, then it's time to freak out. I go, if you see me happy with a smile on my face, you're in good hands.
I've actually heard that from a couple other guys that said they just looked around at the guys on the deck, and if they weren't scared, I wasn't scared.
Yeah.
But if they showed fear,
right,
I was running for my survival suit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. No, we had one time on the Northwestern, we were fishing pretty shitty weather, and all of a sudden we took a big green one over the bow. But we were all on deck. We're doing our thing, hauling pots, and and all of a sudden the boat kind of like, it was like kind of like froze in motion, and we all kind of looked at each other like, oh, this is a bad one. And we all scurried over to the entryway of the house, because we knew we were going
little deck there to.
Yeah, we knew that we were going to hit a big one. And all of a sudden, boom, that thing hit the wheelhouse, went over the top of the wheelhouse, and I remember Sid coming out going, oh, Jesus Christ, he's looking around, he's freaking out.
Nobody can't see anybody.
He thought he wiped out the whole crew, and there's still water pouring off the wheelhouse, and he's standing there being rained on from the seawater.
He's worried about his crew.
Yeah, and I poke my head around the poop deck, and I go, you all right? And he's like, where is everybody? I go, we're all here. And he goes, oh, thank God. He was in panic mode. He thought he lost everybody, he didn't know what he was going to do.
It can happen just that fast.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it has, because all the guys you hear about us losing, that we've lost in the past, it happened that fast.
Exactly.
Because nobody plans to go overboard. Yeah. Nobody plans to.
You heard about the progress this last season.
Yeah, she did a good job.
Yeah. That was pretty amazing, Tiffany.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's and I went and looked at that boat after. I mean, they took out, I don't know how many
7 windows,
something like that.
Well,
yeah.
it bent the brow, and
yeah, like your baseball cap right upright,
Yeah, so for you guys listening to bend the brow, take your baseball cap and just push it up.
Yep. And now imagine that's thick steel.
But steel.
Yeah.
But steel. But she did a good job.
Yeah, they came out. I think. They got back to town. They got everybody was okay, but yeah, man, they looked like they went through hell. They must have got some rogue wave hit them just right or something.
Yeah.
But I still haven't got the story from Tiff. I'd like to hear about it someday.
Well, I want to get her on here someday.
Yeah.
Have her tell the story. But,
yeah.
Well, we're about out of time here, Stan.
Well, thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
This has been awesome.
Yeah.
It's good to capture these stories before they're gone. I guess we'll end with to buy wild Alaska seafood.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and that's where the paychecks come from
fish
for both
is good
of us.
for you.
And if you can't buy wild Alaska seafood, make sure it's wild.
You're right.
But
yeah, none of that farm stuff.
No, we've seen what that does.
Right on.
So, guys, this has been another installment of Galley Stories of the Bering Sea and Beyond. I am your host, Mark Haler, and we will see you next time.
Well, that was cool.
It was. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.